Hello, I'm Charlotte Cohen and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Friday the 23rd of January. And boy do we have a titanic clash for you this weekend.
Header goal! Magnussen makes it 2 to Hearts! Good chance for number 3, which is dinked home by Benjamin Nygren, and that will absolutely seal the points.
Who's going to get the edge in the title race as Hearts host Celtic? And are there murmurs of discontent in Leith as Hibs face Falkirk?
I can't stand here and say we feel we deserve to win. I can talk about chances we created, chances we missed. The reality situation is we're out the cup and that's not good enough for this football club.
Can David Gray's side get back to winning ways after cup disappointment? And the managerless take on the winless as Livingston visit Aberdeen.
I think they're reasonably relaxed about it. Whether they should be is a different matter, but I mean they're beginning to interview candidates now. I think they're probably down to a short list of 4 or 5.
We've got all of the big talking points covered.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
Alongside me this morning, Joelle Murray, such a one-club woman, she got an award. Good morning, Joelle.
Good morning, Charlotte. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Question for you, Joelle. You're obviously a Hibs lady, but that's not to be disputed. But if there was one club you could have played for, somebody said to you, you could play for any club in the world, would it have still been Hibs, or would would there be another you'd pick? Always.
Absolutely. Always been Hibs. Always been Hibs, Charlotte.
Proving the worth of that award with that comment. And alongside us, Rory Loy, less of a one club man. Rory, question for you: if you weren't a footballer, what would you have been doing?
Oh my goodness me! You need to send me these questions in advance, Sean. Thinking off the top of my head, what would I be doing if I wasn't a football player?
Trying to be a football player.
Well, my day job's in sales, so I'll say that I would probably do that.
Well, we've got loads to get into, so let's start with what is looking like it could be the biggest game of the season, not just the biggest game of the weekend. Celtic travelled to Tynecastle to play Hearts. Rory, Hearts missing Lawrence Shankland and Cammy Devlin through injury. How will they cope with the threat of Celtic? They've done it twice this season, but obviously they're without 2 of their star men this week.
They're without 3. Benny Beningbe suspended as well. So it leaves Hearts in a bit of a tricky spot. Obviously, they've still got their 2 centre-backs, Halkett and Finlay, who have been absolutely outstanding. Anytime McCart and Kent have come in, they've been excellent as well. So, they've still got that base in defence. Braga, Kizarides, Chesnikov's come in now as well. But the 3 players that I mentioned are going to be a huge miss. There's no doubt about it. They'll be hoping that Celtic are still flagging a little bit from travelling after last night's exertions as well. So I think there'll be a huge miss. I really do. I think that feeling when Shankland plays that there's always a chance he'll get a goal. I know Braga scored a few goals, but I don't think he's as natural and instinctive as Shankland. Cammy Devlin's been one of the best players in the league. His ability to win the ball back is unbelievable. And then you've got Beningbe missing as well. So I think it changes the outlook of the game massively, Charlotte.
And I think Derek McInnes said in his press conference yesterday they're potentially hoping to have a deal for Rogers Matto over the line before the weekend. He was due to come in January, but they're trying to speed that one up. Joelle, if the deal is done and over the line before Sunday, do you see him getting a run out?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one because, of course, there's now the urgency to get Rogers Matto in on the back of Lawrence Shankland's injury. So that tells you quite a lot. They're desperate for his quality in the squad quicker than what they anticipated. So it's trying to get the balance because I think as a new player, I've obviously never experienced that going into another club, as you alluded to at the beginning of the show. But I think as a new player, I would imagine trying to find your feet, kind of meet your new teammates, meet your new coaching staff, but also wanting to hit the ground running as quickly as possible and make an impact. And if they can get it done, if he is available and fit enough to play or play some part, he will be looking to make a major impact on the game.
And Celtic are obviously desperate to win this game at the weekend, Rory. Bologna on Thursday night was a tough old night for them. They had to put in such a shift, lots of tired legs, I can imagine. That's potentially going to play into Hearts' favour at the weekend?
Potentially. I mean, their last win away in Feyenoord, they came back and won at Easter Road, so, it's not as if they're not capable of doing it. In terms of the Bologna game as well, I think a point they would have been happy with Celtic, but it was such an unorthodox way of getting it. But they'll still be happy with it. I think they'll take confidence from it. I think, they've finally got a striker in the door. They've got a decent point away in Europe. Hearts missing 3 players. I know there's a bit of travelling and stuff involved. I think Celtic will be buoyant come Sunday. And I think for the first time this season, Hearts will feel like they're maybe up against it slightly with regards to the circumstances they find themselves in.
I suppose, Joelle, one of the big things for Celtic is having Martin O'Neill in that dugout at the weekend, because we've seen through his last interim spell, through this interim spell, he knows how to get those players up for a game and playing the way he clearly knows they can play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we spoke about it a lot on these Friday shows. The impact that Martin O'Neill has had in all of his spells at the club. He just seems to get the best out of players, even when the momentum is going against them in games. And it certainly looks like when players are a little bit fatigued, maybe not on their game, they're always digging for that little bit extra energy and looking to do better for Martin O'Neill. So yeah, there's no denying having him back for this game will be a huge advantage and give the Celtic players and supporters a massive lift.
Your cat agrees, Rory, but I think Robbie Nielsen was saying yesterday, I mean, he thinks if Hearts can win this game at the weekend, he doesn't really see them losing 3 or 4 games between now and the end of the season to allow Celtic or Rangers to get back in. I mean, do you see it that way, Rory? Do you see this being just potentially a title deciding result?
You need to put her out, Charlotte. Sorry.
That's okay.
Right. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. I was quite enjoying the meows.
As was I. I was actually coming on today hoping we were going to get them.
I know. Anyway, yeah, Robbie Nielsen said yesterday that he thought if Hearts win at the weekend, he doesn't really see a way back in for Celtic, or Rangers doesn't really see Hearts kind of losing enough games between now and the end of the season to allow that to happen. But do you see it that way, Rory? Do you see this being that crucial for Hearts?
Well, it's a crucial game. There's no doubt about that, but I'm not sure I agree with that train of thought. I think what have been relatively straightforward games for Hearts in October, November, December, it's a whole different ballgame come March, April, May. It really is. Now, Celtic's fall 9 points behind. There's no doubt at all it's going to be difficult. But, to say that, they won't slip up in 3 or 4 games when you consider the fact there's a split involved and they've got to play the other top 5 teams. They've got to go to Ibrox. They'll still have to go to Celtic Park. I don't. 9 points is a big gap at this time of the season. Having a squad of players that have never been in this position before, haven't got the experience of actually getting over the line. And you could say the same about the Rangers squad. Not all of them, obviously, they've won it once. But I just think mentally it's very, very different. And if Celtic do manage to get a couple more players in, become a more settled squad, and pick up a few results after the Hearts game, if they were to lose, given the circumstances you presented to me, I don't think it's over. Even if Hearts win at the weekend, I still think Celtic are in with a shout. A slim one, but I still think they're in with a shout.
Well, one team who will be looking keenly on at that game is Rangers. They're up against Dundee. Joelle, they've got a few new bodies in the door. Obviously couldn't play them against Ludogorets last night. But do you see Danny Roll bringing out his new signings at the weekend?
Yeah, I think so. A really good opportunity to do that, kind of bed them in, similar to the conversation that we just had on Rogers Matto at Hearts, I think as a new player at any club, you're looking to make that impact as quickly as possible. So I do think we'll see them at the weekend. It's a fantastic opportunity to do that, and it's been really good business from Rangers so far. Obviously, Danny Roll's getting the results, getting the performances on the pitch now, and he's just adding those kind of little pieces to the puzzle that he thinks can really push him towards the title and up the league between now and the end of the season. I do think they probably still need a goal scorer. Obviously, Chimite's exploits in the Old Firm and around about that, but I think for me they're just lacking that real clinical number 9 that's going to give you the goals that can win you leagues. So yeah, good business so far, but I'd be surprised if that's them done.
And I mean, Rory, Dundee had been struggling, have kind of started to find their feet a little bit. Stephen Pressley seems to have them on a high at the moment. There'll be a tough test at the weekend for Rangers, won't they?
Yeah, I covered the Scottish Cup tie down at Rugby Park last week for Sportsound, and Dundee were excellent. They're 2 white players. Congreve we've probably spoken about quite a bit on this show, but Yogan was he's on loan from Brentford. He obviously knows Stephen Presley well. He was the best player on the pitch. I've not seen for a long time a more direct winger than Yogan. He gets the ball, he knocks it by his fullback, and Lewis Mayo's no slouch, and he burned him a couple of times. He gets the ball, he knocks it by his fullback, and he's got one thing in his mind: get past him, get a ball in the box. And he was really good, and he complements Congreve on the other side really well. And then you've got Ashley Hay through the middle, who's a good player as well. Hamilton's strong in the middle of the pitch, so if they can be solid defensively, offensively is where sometimes you can play in the low block in these games, as people call it these days, or defend for your lives, but you need a bit of breathing space. You need somebody to get you up the pitch, and I think Dundee have got that now, so it'll not be a walk in the park for Rangers, that's for sure.
Well, there's live commentary of Sunday's games on Sportsound from 2 p.m. on Radio Scotland. Right, let's head to Falkirk, where John McGlynn's side welcome Joelle's beloved Hibs. Hibs have been doing actually quite well this season, so it feels strange to say that there are some grumbles among the Hibs fans about after the Scottish Cup defeat about David Gray. I mean, Joelle, do you see any merit in that? Is this just classic case of Scottish football fans massively overreacting to a bad result?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Charlotte. I think absolutely a bad result. The Hibs fans headed to East End Park in their numbers with the expectation that there would be a cup progression. So there's no surprise that there's the frustrations, there's the angers on the back of that, because let's not beat about the bush. It was a disappointing cup exit because at a club like Hibs, there's that expectation to progress through the cup competitions, certainly at these early stages. So, and that's nothing against Dunfermline. I actually thought Dunfermline on the day were excellent. They were well organised and very aggressive, and it looked like Hibs just didn't anticipate that. So yeah, I think the frustrations are kind of deserved, but when you flip back to the league, we're looking to extend the kind of the run to 6 in the league. So yeah, I think the cup frustrations are merited, but flipping that mindset back to the league, I think we've been on a fantastic run. However, going to Falkirk is no easy place to go, as a lot of teams have experienced this season. So Hibs will be looking to extend that league run, but it certainly won't be an easy game.
Do you think, Rory, that David Gray and Hibs are maybe being judged more harshly this season because of how well their Edinburgh rivals Hearts are doing?
Yeah, there's possibly an element of that. Yeah, it's never nice seeing your rivals do so well. I don't think Hibs have had a bad season. I just think there was potentially an expectation there that they could be slightly closer given the players they've got, and they're only 9 points behind, so it's not as if they're miles adrift. And some seasons by this point you could be looking at 20, 25 points, and it's not been the case. I do think they've fallen victim of Hearts' success ever so slightly, but losing that game on Saturday was it wasn't clever in terms of the optics of the season, because when you consider, yes, they'll have a bit to play for in the league in terms of European places, potentially going for, you would have to say, fourth place. The top three for me are Hearts, Celtic and Rangers, in whatever order it may be. So they're fighting out with Motherwell, in my opinion, for that fourth spot. And then you consider going into the back end of the season as a Hibs, you always want a quarter, a semi, a final to look forward to. Kind of keeps things going if the league is in a place where it's not all that exciting. So they've got they should have had the squad and the players to deal with a game like that on Saturday. But as I always say, there's a reason that game's on TV. There's a reason that one's picked, and the reason is that the people who pick it think could be an upset there, and they were right.
They have Falkirk this weekend. They have been so good at home, but have now lost 2 of their last 3 games at the Falkirk Stadium. Joelle, do you think that's maybe a worry for them if they're kind of starting to lose their strong home form?
I don't know if it's a worry. I think John McGlynn's a very level-headed manager that will kind of bring their mindset back to those early kind of home wins. So yeah, although recently it's been a place that they've not got the wins, got the performances, the results that they would have liked there. I do think they can kind of take their minds back to those moments, those games where they were grinding out results there, almost making it become a fortress. So yeah, I don't think there's any need to kind of worry at the moment. Like I said, it's a difficult place to go for many reasons. The exposure, obviously the surface. So yeah, I don't think there's any need to worry at the moment for Falkirk sitting in 6th, doing extremely well, and they're kind of return to the top flight. So yeah, I don't think there's any need to worry. And they should take their mindset back to those early season home wins. And certainly I think tomorrow's game will be an extremely competitive one I'm looking forward to.
Well, 2 teams that maybe do have to worry, Dundee United and St Mirren, they face each other this weekend, both under a bit of pressure in the league. Rory, do you think this is maybe looking like last chance for both of them to kind of rescue their season, get a bit of positivity back among the support?
I still think Dundee United have got an outside chance of nicking into the top 6 if they can put a run of results together. Last season they were so consistent. They didn't win every game, but their performance very rarely dipped to the stage where Jim Goodwin would be looking at it thinking, right, I need to make wholesale changes and things like that. Whereas this season they have had moments where you're thinking, something needs to change. But they're still not a million miles away from it. St Mirren are going through a really difficult time at the moment. I think they would have been absolutely delighted to get that equaliser at Livingston during the week, because had they lost that, then they start looking down the way. I still think they've got that mindset to look up the way with a manager like Stephen Robinson. But I think the worst thing for these 2 clubs is, I've said before, nobody wants to be in a relegation battle, but these 2 clubs for me may just end up being safe from relegation with no chance of getting into the top 6. And at that stage, there's nothing worse than having nothing to play for,
Kat's not happy about that suggestion. The Saturday coverage starts at 12 with Off the Ball, where the guests are Dave McPherson and poet and composer Dave Sherritt. Also on Saturday, Livingston travel to Aberdeen, still searching for that elusive win. Joelle, they kind of seem to be getting somewhere with this manager search. Are you surprised by how long they've taken, or do you feel like they needed to get this one right so they could have afforded to wait a little bit longer?
Yeah, I'm not surprised, because like you said, this is such a crucial, I mean, every appointment's crucial, of course, but this one in particular for them is absolutely crucial. I don't think they can afford to bring someone in and for it not to work again. So there's no surprising that they're taking their time with this one. I'm sure there'll be diligence done, a lot of kind of thought-provoking conversations, because they've tried to think out the box with managers from the continent. But for me, I think bringing in a manager that knows the league is, for me, a main kind of criteria point. So yeah, no surprising, because it's a massive appointment, this next one for them.
Yeah, and they've still been doing business despite having no manager in the door. Lyle Cameron in on loan. He impressed last weekend against Wraith. Rory, what do you make of his move to Aberdeen?
Listen, he's going out to get games at the end of the day. I know there's a rivalry there, and Aberdeen fans will maybe take a little bit of warming up to him, but the only way he'll do that is with performances, and he certainly did that at the weekend. I disagree with Joelle slightly on the Aberdeen one. I don't think to write Jimmy Tilleen off, and say, he wasn't the right appointment. He won the Scottish Cup. I think if the Aberdeen fans were offered that when he first came in, I think they would have taken that. So I think he was relatively successful. Yes, he was poor in the league for large spades of time, but I think winning that Scottish Cup, I think Aberdeen fans would have, if they'd said at the time of the appointment with Jimmy Tilleen that they would have that fantastic start, they would win the Scottish Cup, and there would be that bit of excitement in the first season. Yeah, it fell off a cliff, but there were moments in Jimmy Tilleen's time in charge that Aberdeen fans will never forget. So I do think he was a success to an extent. I know it did run dry, and it needed changed. So we'll wait and see who they go for this time. But in terms of Lyle Cameron and the signings that they're making, they're getting players in the door. Liam Morrison, well thought of as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Peter Leven and Lutz Pfannenstiel fit them into their system.
Nice pronunciation. That was very impressive.
Very impressive.
Peter Leven.
They are up against Livy, who really, really needs some points on the board, some wins, a bit of something. Joelle, do you think this is a chance for them? Aberdeen kind of lacking a bit of direction, don't have a manager in yet. Could this be the chance for them to get their season back on track?
Yeah, maybe. I look at every game's a chance for Livy. I think you're saying they need a bit of something. They need a bit of luck, Charlotte, because whether it be VAR decisions, late goals, or various other things, they've just had a season of disappointment, but certainly no luck. Obviously, the late equaliser from Gogic during the week probably just summed up their season. Winless in 20 away matches. The stats just don't read well for Livingston. So yeah, every game's a chance, but a difficult one going up to Pittodrie, playing against a side with players who are looking to impress. I think Rory mentioned Lyle Cameron going there just in the door and performing. So yeah, it will be a difficult one, but every game's a chance for Livy, but they just need a bit of luck, Charlotte. I think everyone, whether you're a Livy fan or not, I think everyone's willing them to get a little bit of luck and get a bit of something to try and turn their season around.
Another team that's also struggling is Kilmarnock. Tests don't get much tougher at the moment than Motherwell, but Rory, Motherwell will probably be having kind of one thought on keeping their squad together in this window. Their players have been attracting some serious interest over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, listen, I think there's a belief at Motherwell just now that even if players move on, they'll have players waiting in the wings to come in and be able to just, come in and complement the squad and do what Jens Bertolaskew's been asking of the others. They've been involved in training. They'll have had minutes on the pitch. He makes 5, 6, 7 changes at times, and it doesn't seem to affect anybody. Ideally, you want to keep your Maswinises and Elliot Watts and Fadingers and all your better players. Of course you do. But I think there's a belief there that the message is so clear and so strong that The players who are in training every day who maybe aren't getting as much game time are capable of coming in and doing that. And if you can add a couple of new signings, which they have already, into the squad, with a striker anyway, then I don't think they'll be too concerned. I think they'll just concentrate on that muscle memory of taking in what's been done so far, and regardless of who's in the team, they can step in and take the place of the person who's either moved on or is injured, suspended. So they've done incredibly well, and I don't see that changing.
Yeah, Joelle, that's what Motherwell kind of seem to be doing this season, isn't it? They're just getting on with things, going about their business, doing well. I suppose the success of Hearts is maybe taking the shine off a little bit, but everyone can see how good their performances have been and how well they've been doing.
Yeah, it's been extremely impressive, and I think Rory's hit the nail on the head. For me, the most impressive thing is the squad rotation. Players come in, players go out, and there's not a dilution of quality. There's not a change in, obviously, tempo in their playing style. So for me, that's been the most impressive thing. Massimo Nishi going away to the AFCON. Yeah, I think for me, their squad depth, their rotations, there's no dilution in quality. So yeah, I think fair play, because it shows a trust and belief in Bertolascu's players, that you can see that they really want to play for them. They really respect them, and regardless of who's on that pitch, from the first whistle to the last, then they're certainly playing the way that he wants to play, without that dilution in quality.
Rory, Kilmarnock, another team desperate for a win, desperate for some points on the board. Do you see them being able to get something out of this game?
What they're going to have to be against Motherwell is well organised, disciplined, and have an understanding of what Motherwell do. Neil McCann, he likes to delve into his tactics and understand the opposition and get his team really clued up. So there's no doubt the homework will be done, and it'll be done thoroughly, and it'll be done well. So it's just a case of whether these players are capable on the day of going out and believing they can get something from Motherwell.
Well, that is all we've got time for. Many thanks to Joelle and Rory, and thank you very much for listening. The weekend football coverage starts tonight at 7:30 on the BBC Scotland channel as Arbroath host Morton in the Scottish Championship. Remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we shall catch you again very soon.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.